All right, everybody. Happy Victory Monday. A big Victory Monday. One of the biggest Victory Mondays in franchise history. The Seahawks win the NFC Championship game, beating a hated division rival to do it, and are going to represent the conference in the Super Bowl in 2 weeks. It was a drama-filled game. It was a game that came down to the last couple of minutes, or arguably even the last couple of seconds. It was a game that had swings back and forth. There was some great stuff the Seahawks did. There was some not so great stuff the Seahawks did. And there's a lot to talk about. But I want to go ahead and lead the week off with a quick discussion of the most important thing from that game. And this is not something that is hard to pick up on. This is not something that I think anybody is looking at and going, wow, I never really thought about that. This is, I think, relatively obvious, but we got to talk about it. Let's lead the week off. Sam Darnold is the guy. All right, everybody, before we go any further into the video, I want to take a minute to tell you guys about a wonderful app called Sleeper, a one-stop shop for all your sports needs. You can celebrate and chat about sports in real time with other users. You can get all kinds of scores, sports news, and sports alerts with blazing fast speed. And of course, you can play in fantasy leagues and win real money on picks contests. So enjoy sports with other people in a community. Download the Sleeper app today and remember to use the promo code SBN, that is SBN, for up to $100 match on your first deposit. And they also have a free $20 entry right now, no deposit required. So pair those two up. Terms and conditions do apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states and growing. Check out the Sleeper app and have fun with sports this year. Again, I want to stress, I'm not here to break any news. I'm not here to shock you guys with some startling revelation I had from watching that game last night. If you watched that game last night, it was pretty obvious, but I want to go ahead and call it out anyway and draw attention to it and make a whole video about it because last night I saw something that I have never seen before in my life, and I have been alive for most of the Seahawks postseason victories in their franchise history. First one I saw was against the Washington Redskins in 2005, or it was in 2006, but the 2005 season. I've seen every playoff win they've had since then. And last night was the first time ever I saw a Seahawk quarterback put the team on his back when nothing else was really working all that well and drive the team to a victory in a playoff game. That was something I had never seen before until last night, and then I saw it. That's not to say that Darnold is literally the only player on the team that showed up last night. That's obviously not true. If that was true, we would have lost 63-3 or maybe 63-0. But I think it's absolutely true to say the only thing that consistently worked last night for the Seahawks was the passing attack. I think it is absolutely fair to say that Darnold throwing it to JSN, to Walker on checkdowns and screens, and Shaheed on the deep shot, and Cooper Kupp to convert third downs, and maybe a little bit of AJ Barner. That was the only thing that consistently worked throughout the night last night. The run game, I don't think it's as bad as the numbers suggest, but the run game was not controlling the game at all. It was not overly effective. It was not all that impactful on this game. And you can't say that the team rode their run game to victory this week. And certainly not the defense, which gave up over 470 yards of offense, 27 points, no turnovers, one sack, and the one sack was the only tackle for loss we had the whole game. Like, yeah, there wasn't much else on this team that worked other than the passing attack. The special teams were good, right? We had good special teams. Although the Rams kind of handed us the special teams battle with their fumble, which we did nothing to force. They just fumbled it. But there's really not much to say about this game other than that Sam Darnold took a Seahawks team that was on the ropes, that was getting beat defensively, that wasn't able to consistently run the ball, and just said, we are not losing today. The numbers speak for themselves, right? I got his numbers on screen. 25 to 36, 350 yards almost, 3 touchdowns, no picks. He did take 3 sacks. I don't think there was much he could do on those sacks, honestly. He did scramble for 1 first down in, I think it was the 4th quarter. I'm not sure about that. So there was a little bit of stuff going on there, but there was not a lot else to say about the Seahawks' performance last night other than they passed the ball so efficiently, so effectively, so explosively that they were able to win with an off game from the defense and an off game from the rushing attack. And look, the offensive line, I'm not saying they played terribly last night, but it was not a standout performance. I've seen better from them. And just to illustrate that point, I want to talk about something that Next Gen Stats had last night from that game. Sam Darnold threw 3 touchdown passes last night. According to Next Gen Stats, all 3 of those touchdowns were under pressure. So he was getting pressured on all 3. That is a career high. And in weeks 11 and 16 against the Rams, this same Rams defense, Darnold threw 0 touchdowns and 3 interceptions under pressure. Now, this might not sound all that interesting on its own, but according to NFL researcher here on X, Sam Darnold is the first quarterback with 3 touchdowns under pressure in a playoff game in the Next Gen Stats era. Now, Next Gen Stats, I think they started in 2014. So they go back over a decade. That is dozens and dozens. And actually, at this point, you've got hundreds, over 100 playoff games. Never has a quarterback thrown 3 touchdown passes in one playoff game under pressure until last night. And it was Sam Darnold that did it. And think about the narrative with Darnold, this idea that he would completely melt down if you got pressure on him. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with saying that because every quarterback plays a lot worse when they're pressured, obviously. But Sam Darnold was supposed to be a guy who was completely untenable under pressure. And he just went and had the first game in the last 11, it would be 11 postseasons with 3 touchdowns in one game under pressure. So you want to talk about throwing the narrative out the window. You want to talk about defeating it the hard way. Yeah, he did that. And those 3 touchdowns he threw, I mean, you look at all 3 of them, they're not easy. He's got guys hanging off of him. He's got guys clawing around him. He's got guys in his face. He's got guys hitting him as he throws, and he's still making the throw that he needs to make. And you look at stuff like this. You look at the circumstances of a game like this, where you're playing a division rival at home, a team that has traditionally given you a lot of trouble in recent years. You consider the fact that he's playing with some kind of injury. He's got an oblique injury of some kind. You consider the fact that this is the first year on this team, first year in this offense. I know not the first year in the Shanahan offense, but it's the first year working with Kubiak as his offensive coordinator. And it's the cheapest offense in football. Yeah, he's just the guy at this point. And after last night, whatever happens in 2 weeks, he is the guy. And until he does something to change that, we're riding with this guy. And I don't know if there was ever any possibility of anything else happening after the way last week's playoff game against the Niners went and after getting the 1 seed at all. But if there was any thought in anyone's mind that this would just be a stopgap, that's clearly over, and we're riding with him. And that should mean something coming from me, because when it comes to Darnold, I try to be fair. I'm not somebody who is always going to excuse every mistake he makes. I'm not somebody that is always going to just ride with him and blame things on other people whenever things go wrong. I'm not somebody who always puts the blame on Kubiak. I'm not someone who always puts the blame on the receivers or the offensive line when things go poorly. But I'm also somebody that tries to give him a lot of credit when I feel like it's due. So when it comes from me, and think about where we started here. When we signed the guy, I wasn't really into it. I didn't think it was going to work out. I mean, I recognized it was a very good deal. The contract was very well set up. The contract was very reasonable, and I did appreciate that. but I wasn't convinced that he was going to be the same guy he was in Minnesota. And maybe he hasn't been, but he's been a franchise quarterback clearly. And I felt that way even through some of the bad times. And now here we are with Darnold having played, in my opinion, the most impressive game any Seahawks quarterback has ever played in a playoff game. I want to emphasize that. We've had good quarterbacks. We've had good quarterbacks play good playoff games in my lifetime and before my lifetime. But I don't think any quarterback ever played a game as good as the game that Darnold played last night. So there's nothing left to say. There's nothing left for him to prove. Obviously, we hope we win the Super Bowl in a couple weeks, but even if something happens and we don't, we've got our guy. And think about how badly this could have gone. Think about how poorly things could have gone if we decided, let's go get our quarterback in the 2020, what was it, the 2022 draft with Kenny Pickett or Desmond Ridder, or even though I still kind of like the guy, a Will Levis, somebody like that. If we had gone after a I don't think Baker Mayfield wouldn't have been as good here, but maybe that would have been okay if we had gone after Baker a couple years ago. But Jimmy Garoppolo, we could have gone in on him a couple years ago. All the different opportunities that you had to go after a franchise quarterback at those junctures that you didn't take, and to get it right so quickly pivoting from one really good quarterback to another really good quarterback to another really good quarterback to where we are now. It's like, it's crazy. It's crazy. Think about how long some teams go without getting a decent quarterback. Look at the Jets. Look at the Browns. Look at how hard it is for these teams to figure it out. And here we are, having already found the new guy so quickly and without spending a lot of money or resources. All right, so Sam Darnold's the guy, and I just wanted to go ahead and talk about that for a minute. See you guys later. Go Hawks. Let me know what you think, but yeah, we're riding and dying with Sam Darnold for the foreseeable future. He has earned a lot of goodwill with me, and he should have earned a lot of goodwill with you after last night.